Imagine a cyber attack, a huge one, big enough to bring a whole country to its knees. Now, what if I told you it wasn't a surprise? What if it was announced to the world, broadcast live for anyone to hear days before it ever happened? Well, this is the story of a war that was declared right out in the open.
Okay, before we dive in, just a quick heads up. What you're about to hear is a fictional scenario, but don't think of it as science fiction. This is an explainer, a story built from real intelligence analysis, projecting what could very well happen in the very near future.
All right, so picture this. The date is March 30th, 2026. A massive digital siege hits Argentina. And we're not talking about one or two government websites. No, this is a huge, coordinated breach hitting the country's most critical digital systems all at once.
But here's the part that changes everything, the part that sounds like it's straight out of a movie. What if this massive attack wasn't some stealth mission in the dark? What if the hackers literally announced what they were going to do on a public forum for thousands of people to hear, basically declaring war before firing a single digital shot?
And that brings us to our first section. You can just forget everything you think you know about secret bunkers and encrypted messages. The new battlefield? It's live, it's messy, and it's happening completely out in the open for everyone to see.
So this declaration of war, it didn't come from some hidden corner of the dark web. It happened live, on X Spaces, in these public audio chat rooms that people were calling government bombs. I mean, these things are chaotic. You've got hackers, journalists, even government agents, all listening in to the same conversation.
And what we're seeing here is a brand new game in intelligence gathering. Let's call it social audio intelligence, or SOCODENT for short. This is the new reality. The biggest threats aren't hidden away in classified files anymore. They're being broadcast live to anyone who's willing to listen. Get this, over 5,000 people. That's how many were tuned in, listening live, when this hacker group, the Cronus Mafia, just casually announced that their next big target was, the entire government of Argentina. They even gave a rough timeline. Unbelievable. But in that crowd of 5,000 listeners, there was one person who was actually connecting the dots. And this is the story of the one analyst who saw the whole thing coming.
And that analyst's name is Alberto Daniel Hill. Now, he's not your typical expert. He's actually a survivor of a complete system failure. He was wrongfully imprisoned in Uruguay, and that experience gave him this deep, first-hand understanding of how institutions can break down. It's why he's respected by both the security pros and the very hackers he tracks.
And this isn't just a story. Look, this is the proof. On March 19th, that's more than 10 days before the attack, Hill took what he was hearing in those public X spaces and he put out this formal threat intelligence flash. He didn't just suggest something might happen, he spelled it out, warning that a massive data breach against Argentina was coming and coming soon.
This is exactly what makes someone like Hill a digital knight. His credibility, his authority, it's all built on hard technical proof and his own real-world experience. It's a huge contrast to the digital broker type. The talking heads who build a reputation on TV appearances and telling a good story, not on actual verifiable facts.
So Hill puts out this incredibly specific warning, and it seems like nobody listened. Because on March 30th, right on schedule, just like the Cronus Mafia promised in public, the digital siege of Argentina began.
28. That's the number of separate government and financial agencies that were hit all at the same time. This wasn't a small-time hack. It was a massive, coordinated assault right at the heart of the government's power.
And the payload? Over 8 million sensitive records were stolen. Just let that sink in for a second. We're talking about the personal data, the health records, the financial details. Basically, the entire digital lives of millions of people just scooped up and leaked.
But the thing is, this didn't come out of nowhere. Not really. It was more like a time bomb finally going off. This attack was just the latest in a long line of major breaches, each one showing how vulnerable the country's digital infrastructure had become over the years. It was a systemic failure waiting to happen.
And if anyone still had any doubts about who was responsible, the hackers left a little calling card. They plastered this banner all over government websites, hacked by Cronus. It was like digital graffiti, a way to publicly humiliate the state and prove, without a doubt, that they were in control.
So as the country's digital house was burning down, you basically had two different realities playing out. In one, you had total silence from the officials, and in the other, you had this chaotic, live, public investigation happening online.
I mean, look at the contrast. On one side, the institutional response was nothing. Crickets. No official alerts, no statements. But on the other side, you had this explosion of what you could call decentralized validation. The truth was being assembled piece by piece live on X and Reddit, with analysts like Hill breaking it down, and sometimes the hackers themselves would just jump into the conversation.
So while the official channels were dead quiet, social media, especially X, became the de facto source of news. Sure, it was messy and chaotic, but it was literally the only place where people could get real, validated information about the biggest data breach in their country's history.
But here's the real twist in the story. The attack on the government? Turns out that was just a demonstration, a proof of concept. The intelligence suggests it was all just a warm-up for an even bigger, much more dangerous target. You see, the March 30th siege was all about one thing: data. Stealing it, leaking it, and proving they had the power to do it. It was an attack on information.
But the next target, that's about something else entirely. It's called Vaca Muerta. It's one of the biggest shale oil and gas reserves on the entire planet. For Argentina, it's the key to their whole economic future. It's their national jackpot. And the chilling warning from intelligence analysts is this: the next logical step for these attackers isn't just to steal more data, it's to cause physical disruption. To use the access and data they already have to attack the industrial control systems that manage the actual flow of oil and gas.
And that leaves us with one final, pretty terrifying question. When the threat is no longer just about stealing your personal information, but about shutting off your country's lights, what does digital sovereignty even mean anymore? The line between the digital world and the physical one is getting blurrier every single day.